Alright, welcome Geckopia fam, it's Chris Choi. Welcome to another reptile video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Murphy Patternless Leopard Gecko Morph review, since there are people who want to know about this morph. So I decided to do some research on them and see what are some cool information. So in a couple seconds, I'm going to be reviewing their history, their genetics, their characteristic, and the combination example photos. Combination example photo is something that I added recently, and a lot of people liked the example photos. So going forward, I'll be putting those example photos for each genetics that I review. So if you are interested in those photos, make sure you stay tuned and subscribe to my channel. But basically, yeah, those are the things that I'm gonna go over. And before I begin, I want to shout out to Overcome for writing me those questions about the Murphy Patternless. And here's the video. So hope you got the value out of this video by end of this video. And if you did, make sure you hit that like. And also, for those who are writing all these comments, I read them a lot, and some of the questions that you asked from last video in the Blizzard line Leopard Gecko Morph review, I have it written on my list, checklist for the next video. So you'll be seeing other morph review coming shortly. But without further ado, let's get started. So to begin this video, I'll be reviewing the history part for the Murphy Patternless. This genetic was found in 1991. It's one of the first recessive Leopard Gecko morph. I thought the Tremper albino was the first recessive, but turns out the Murphy Patternless was the first one. Over the 20 years when this morph was found, a lot of people were misinformed and misidentifying, thinking this was a leucistic mutations. And for those who want to know about the leucistic, I have this information in my previous video in Blizzard Leopard Gecko Morph review. So if you want to learn about the leucistic, click that link somewhere on the top corner. I'll leave it on the top area so that you guys can click that and watch that video. But basically, people thought this was a leucistic back then when they just discovered this morph. But after 4 years, I'll say, turned out this wasn't a leucistic after they found the Blizzard Leopard Gecko morph. So they renamed this morph to Patternless, and it became a Murphy Patternless. But basically, the leucistic will be the Blizzard, not the Murphy Patternless. But it's really hard to get that renamed, and people were not really getting a lot of good information through the internet back then, since there wasn't really good tools or places to find these information. So it took over 20 years to get this information straight. But yeah, that's quick information about the Murphy Patternless, and I have mentioned this already, but the Murphy Patternless is a recessive, so you will need hat or recessive, visual recessive to get the Murphy Patternless. All of those informations have been covered in a lot of my videos, so you'll probably understand what that means already. So I will skip on to that. And the thirdly, the characteristic part. The cool about the Murphy Patternless is that when they're young, they tend to be more like a normal leopard gecko. You know how normal leopard geckos, they tend to have those markings pattern on its back, yellow with the black markings basically. But what happens with the Murphy Patternless is that when they get older, those patterns slightly fade away and they just don't have a pattern at all. So it's more likely going to be the yellow grayish color on its body from head to tail. Some people will say it's a greenish colors. I guess it's a bit different when you see it in the real life, but most of the pictures that I found online tends to look more like a yellow grayish. So those are the colors that normally appears with the Murphy Patternless morph. And lastly, one cool information that I found was that the Murphy Patternless tends to have this purple grayish tail. So I brought one of the good example photos from Geckopia, but as you can see from the photos, their tails tends to look more like a purple grayish colors. So hope that helped. But those are the characteristic informations, and now I'm going to be showing what you guys want to know, which is going to be the combination side. So there are a lot of example photos that I found in the book. This is somewhere where I get information while I'm doing research on Google and other areas. There was a really good morph combination in the books, but I couldn't find that on the online, so I decided to take those things out. But Today in the combination part, I have brought the rainwater albino mixed with the Murphy Patternless shrimp albino and Murphy Patternless Super Snow, which also they call it as a platinum, the Murphy Patternless Super Trample Albino Eclipse, which also they call it as an amber, and Murphy Max Snow Tramper Eclipse, which in other words they call it as a snowflake. Most of the example photos may look very similar to you guys if you are just new with this leopard gecko thing. So Murphy Patternless, unfortunately, they basically look very similar to each other because they don't have a patterns. They're patternless. So a lot of it, more likely, it's going to be yellowish or grayish. Those are the biggest difference from combinations. But starting with the Murphy Patternless rainwater albino, it has that yellowish color with that albino appearance eye, which silverish reddish color. And when I look at the photo, it looks very similar to the sunrise, I believe, the one that I showed you guys in my previous video with the blizzard. They look very similar to each other, but basically, yeah, it's more like a light yellow with that silver eye color looking gecko. And next one is the Murphy Patternless Shrimp Albino. This one seems more solid yellow, but technically, overall, all the albino combo with the Murphy Patternless will look very similar to each other. This may be a little bit more solid. It's because they have a better quality gecko on this one, so it probably looks more solid, but most likely a lot of albino combo with the Murphy Patternless will look very same each other, so don't think that Trample albino will have more solid yellow color. One thing that I know is that Bell albino is the one of the morph that shows really good yellow color when you mix it with the tangerine, so I think it will be a little bit different. And also in the book I found that there was a really good example photos from Bell Eclipse mixed with the Murphy Patternless, so I was really looking for that example photo for a very long time, but unfortunately I couldn't find it. So if you have any good example, if you're a breeder and working on those lines, send me an email or send me a message in Instagram, and I'll love to check them out and see how yours looks. But that is basically the Murphy Patternless Trample albino lines, and now this is a bit different, which is the Murphy Patternless Super Snow. In other words, they call it as a platinum. As you can see, they look a lot gray and they still don't have a patterns. I think this is one of the cool morph out of all the combinations, since they look a little bit different, but it's going to be more like a grayish color when you have a super snow or snow. And the next slide that I brought here is the Murphy Patternless with the snow, and usually when they're young they tend to have darker color on its body, but as they get older this dark solid color starts to fade away and become more like a grayish color. So that is one other example of a hat-slaying Murphy Patternless snow. There is a Murphy Patternless Tramper Albino Eclipse Amber. They call it Amber in short way since there's 3 genetics, and this is 3 recessive genetics, which is a lot hard to create. But basically, it looks similar to the Murphy Patternless Tramper Albino, except they have those eclipse appearance eye. In this photo, it looks like it's more like a snake eclipse, but yeah, those are one of the key things that you should look for when they have the eclipse signs, and it's a definitely cool morph there. And lastly, I found the snowflake, and after I'm seeing these like combinations, man, people put a lot of genetics in them. This one has a Max Snow, Tramper, Eclipse, Murphy Patternless. Oh my god, there's so many. But anyway, it's very similar, except this is more lighter. And also, if you have a snow, especially, they tend to have those solid colors, like solid black eye colors, which I reviewed that in the Super Snow line. So if you've seen my previous video where I teach you guys about the Super Snow Eclipse, I highly recommend watching it. They have some adorable eyes there, but basically if you make Super Snow, they will still carry that dark solid eye on them. So those are the informations that I could find online. There are not a lot of informations out there about the Murphy Patternless since they look very similar to each other, but I definitely think this is one of the cool morph that you could work with, since there are people who doesn't like patterns, then this is definitely one good morph to go with. So if you want to go with these lines and try some cool projects for yourself, definitely try it and let me know if you got some really good hatchlings going forward. Before I end the video, I want to thank you guys all for writing all this amazing comment in my previous video for the Blizzard Leopard Gecko Morph. Just keep asking. I read every single of your comments and always thinking about what would be the best video to teach you for the Leopard Gecko Morph. And also, I'm also learning this throughout the research, throughout the video as well, since I'm always doing research and seeing what would be the best informations for you guys. So keep asking, I read them. And also I've seen a lot of people coming to my Instagram page and reaching out to me. I want to thank you guys for that. But if you are asking some questions about the YouTube, I highly recommend asking questions through the comments instead of Messenger, because I have tons of messages that I've been receiving a lot recently, every day, from our fans and people who love reptiles. So sometimes I miss your questions, but with this comment, I have a record of all the information, so I won't be forgetting your questions while I'm reading the comments. So if you have any questions, just write a comment on my most recent video, and I'll try to come up with an amazing video and do a lot of research so that you guys can learn throughout the end. But yeah, hope this video helped you overcome. I hope you learned a lot. Sorry, I didn't have a lot of good information this time, but if there's anything that I could add, I'll definitely keep you guys updated through the comments and give you more additional information. And yeah, so that's it for today. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe to our page. I release video every Saturday at 8 a.m. in Pacific time, so just stay tuned for that. Next video is about the tangerine, so if you are interested, this is one of my main lines, like tangerine black knights, and those things are one of my main focus, so I have a lot of things to talk about in next video. So stay tuned for that and keep asking. I'll have all those questions listed on my checklist. I actually put them on my list so I could think about what video will be a good video to post for next week and another week, and so yeah. But anyway, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Take care everyone, and stay healthy and keep your gecko happy. Bye guys.